welcome back. I'm Claire, this is Purple Poppy, and today is Sunday stitching. I'm sorry we didn't do it last week. We're technically a week behind because this should be Roxy's Journal of Stitchery and it's actually... oh dear, it's all back to front, isn't it? Never mind. That's because we did the needle case. So we've only got 2 squares left. Now, I'm officially going to make this the last square for what we've been doing, because on this actual last square I want to do a monogram of my initials. Those of you that are on my Instagram will have seen one that I did the other week, and that's what I want to put in that square with the, you know, the black, probably black and gold to match the box edges. So working on this square here, and what I've got left is these bits of fabric, and I've got no black thread here apart from what is in this needle, but I'm not really looking to use too much thread today, because what I'd like to do is something that I saw Anne Brooke do a couple of years ago when we were doing the 52 tags. Right, so I'm going to cut this. Oh, we've got a pink to cut that side, so let's use my pinking shears. I trust everybody is happy, safe and well, getting plenty of crafting into your week. It's really hard to get a grip there. Let's straighten this off a bit. Oh, I feel all fingers and thumbs. Don't know why. Been up for hours. I've already done some of the Roxy stitching this morning, so I am wide awake. But for some reason, I can't get a grip of this bit of fabric. So I'm going down there like that. I think I've gone wonky, as is my norm, but there you go. And I'm going to cut that size piece from all 3. And what I want to do is I want to fold them up and make almost like, how can I describe it, like a closed Roman blind, if that makes sense. So, having got them all the same width, I'm then gonna cut them into little strips and I'm gonna fold them over. So the strip that I'm gonna cut, so obviously this is the width-ish of my square, and then I'm gonna cut probably 1.5 inches. So I'm going to cut it about there, so that's roughly 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to cut myself another one. Now it looks like I'm just short there. Oh no, that's all but. So I've got 3 out of that one. I'm going to do the same on this one. I'm just trying to get all my pieces prepared so that once I start to stitch, I don't need to stop and start. That's the idea. I'm sorry if you can hear the washer going in the background. You know, household jobs still need to be done regardless of, you know, what day it is, sadly. And I've already skived a day this week. As many of you know, it's been my birthday and I've skived. And I'm going to welcome the list of new subscribers. Now, I'm not 100% sure that they would necessarily see this video if they've signed up much more for the paper crafting ones, but I'd like to say a huge welcome to Ginger Snap, to Kathy, to Feb 22 1964, to Elma, and also to Misty Dawn. Thank you so much for subscribing. It's great to have you aboard. You are very, very welcome. Okay, so I've now got 9 pieces because I've got 3 of 3. I'm going to start with this yellowy one purely because that yellow is quite close. And I'm just going to fold it in half and I'm going to pull it there. And of course I don't have any pins to hand. Well, yes I do, because here's my stitching book that's got pins in it. Look, ta-da! I knew there was a reason I did that. So fold that over and I'm going to put a pin in there like that. And then I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to fold it over and I'm going to put that on top. So what we are in effect doing, you see, is we're getting this upside down Roman blind. If you wanted to, you could do yours from the bottom up. I'm just choosing to do it this way. See, I keep putting it in upside down as if I was going to do it bottom up. Perhaps I should have done. And I'm just overlapping all of these so we get this nice ruffle. Now, if you want to, you can stitch them one by one and then you'd be able to pick them up. Or, of course, you can lay them on top as I have and stitch them through each other. It's entirely up to you. So then I'm going back to the first one, folding it in half and putting it on there. If you wanted to be a little bit more sparing with your fabric, then instead of folding them in half, you could cut them in singles. Or if you've got particularly thick fabric, you might want to cut them in singles. Part of the reason that I'm doing mine double is because I set aside these 3 pieces of fabric purely for this project. So once I've finished today, I've got no more use really for this fabric other than putting it into my scraps box. And then the last one is going to fit on there, and we don't obviously want to see that edge, so this time I'm going to fold it in and then I'm going to fold it in half so that we don't get a scalloped edge, we get a nice folded edge like that. Okay, so now we've got these lovely pieces, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this, where's it gone, this black thread, okay, and I'm going to stitch over and through with decorative stitching in order to, actually, do I want black? Because we got quite a lot of black. It's the gold we haven't got much of, isn't it? So let me use the gold. Sorry, being a pain, aren't I? So we'll split this because this is a full 6. And you know I like to stitch with 3. You obviously must do what you are comfortable with. If you're comfortable with a 2 or a 4 or a 6, whatever, you must do that for you. I'm just splitting mine down the middle as always because I do want 3s. The longer the thread, the more you have to work at this, I find, but it's all good, we'll get there. So what stories have you got to share? What have you been up to? I know there's a few of you doing the Roxy Creation Stitchery or Roxy's Journal of Stitchery along with me. I see that Leanne's already got her pots done, because this current prompt is for pots. So she's been a right eager beaver this time and stitched away quite quickly. Sorry, I've got a bit of a knot going on here, take no notice. There's lots of people, lots and lots of people doing this journalist stitcher. It's quite amazing. And I've since started doing it, seen that there are a number of other people that are doing them, you know, and encouraging people to join in. So we'll get a knot on this end as always. And then we'll thread our needle. I brought you out a bit wider today. You'll have to let me know if you find that better or not. If you prefer being higher so you see more, or lower so that you see the detail. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at this edge here, and I'm going to do a basic running stitch on this one, but I'm going to go up and down, and I want it to be uneven. I want it to be, you know, like when you see those screens of people's like heartbeat, and it goes up and down at different points. So I'm going to come right down to the bottom, up in the middle. Yeah, and then I'm coming back there to join that up. Okay, so we've got like that V. Now you might not see this very well because I'm doing the gold on the gold. So now I'm going to do another low one. Okay, and then having, as it were, got that stitch in, I'm going to come straight back up at obviously not the same hole, you'll just pull the thread out, and I'm going to go right up to the top. So I'm getting different. I'm going to pull that pin out now, and then again I'm going to come right up next to that as if I've used the same stitch, but obviously don't do that. And then this one I'm going to come all the way down again, and then I'm going to go all the way up behind. So you can see I've got different length stitching, and then I'm going to come all the way down and come out at the middle. And then join that back up, because we don't want to break in our heartbeat, do we? Like that. Oh, that's more of a diagonal. Something weird going on with this heartbeat. But you get the idea that I'm just doing different length stitches, basically. That's all I'm doing. So then I'm going to do this one up. So we've got a bit of a gap at the bottom. And then come back up through as if that was the same stitch, and come all the way down to the bottom. Now just be careful, because I'm going a bit low here and I don't want to be interfering with my frame, so just be a little bit careful there. And then to the middle again. And back out of that point. up to the top, and you should find that those top stitches are actually holding the next piece in position. And then back up through there. I'm going to lift this up because I don't want that coming all the way down. So basically I'm just doing random stitches to hold it on, but rather than just stitching it on, I'm doing stitches that I think will make it look much more interesting. So there you go. And then that is that piece in. Now if I take this pin out, you'll see that some of that has already been caught, not all of it, but some of it. So now if I move up to the top of this one, holding it down, oh, it's very thick, this fabric. If I move up to the top of this one and I stitch right on the very edge, you're not going to see the stitch, but it is going to hold that one in. So right to the very top, and then back down almost next to it. Okay. Like that. So you can just see little tiny yellow dots across the top there. My thumb's starting to cramp. So the only trouble once you start getting old, holding the same position for a time does mean that you start to cramp up. Plus my eyesight's going, so I have to have it right on the end of my nose. Can't see it properly. It's all going wrong, Mama. But, you know, mustn't complain. Worse things happen at sea and all that. So, it's coming along, repeating those tiny little stab stitches across the top. And you can almost use something like this as a stitch sampler, because we've shown this stitch here. We've got this one with little tiny invisible stab stitches. I'm cheating now, look, I'm pushing it through. That's because once my thumb starts to go, I start to sort of rush it, which is why normally when I'm doing slow stitching, I would put it down now and come back to it at a later date. That's not really any good for a video, is it? Sorry, yeah, you could use this as a stitch sampler because we've got these long ragged lines of interest. This one, there's hardly any stitch on it at all. It's just the little stab stitches at the top, and then maybe on this one, we could do a blanket stitch, and you could use each one of these fabrics as a little sample. And then we could do maybe a long stitch, a bit like a burrow stitch. You could do a couple of rows. Now, I don't know how many of you follow Anne Brooke, but I follow her quite closely. I love her work, which is why I, you know, saw the 52 handmade tags. And she does a thing on a Wednesday, if you don't know her, called Wobble Gob, where she just basically chats about her week and her current projects and the like. And this week she was talking about, right, now if I take that pin out, this one is now fixed in, so you don't need to do any stitching to hold it in. The stitching's just decorative. So if we now do a blanket stitch, so we're going to lean that forward, we're going to come through those fabrics, not there though, because that's moved it down. So line it up to where you want it, come through the fabric so you know you've got both pieces of fabric, pull it through, okay, and then I'm just going to do a blanket stitch. So I'm going to go right the way through rather than the conventional blanket stitch that would just go under, you know, the one layer. I'm going to go all the way through so I know it's going to hold, and then make sure that I come up inside the stitch, as it were. Anyway, so yes, Anne Brooke does the wobble gob, there you go, got it, on a Wednesday. And this week, so a couple of days ago, if you want to go and have a look at it, she was talking about having discovered darning. Now, I have never done darning in my life, and as the person who's very bad and generally sort of throws them away rather than repairs them. Now that's a lie, because I don't throw them away. They come out of the wardrobe and down into the craft room to be recycled. But as far as the wardrobe's concerned, they get thrown away. I've never ever darned anything in my life. But Anne was talking about seed and square darning, which she'd got out of a book that she'd bought. And oh my goodness, to me it was one of the ultimate slow stitches. So I am about to, I don't know if I'll do it today, possibly, why not, on a Sunday afternoon. I'm going to try and look up the details, because I don't have the book, of this seed, S-E-E-D, and square darning technique, and have a go, because it looks awesome. It almost looks like a tartan weave, if that makes sense, because you've got lines going up and lines going, so you've got a waft and a weft, as it were. It's absolutely awesome. So I'm just going to rethread my needle. So yes, if anybody likes the idea of that, definitely go over and check out Anne, and she'll give you much more detail about it than I can. And she'd even bought herself a darning mushroom, and she was saying how she was surprised that it was so beautiful to stitch on. So yeah, I don't know that I'm going to go that far, because I don't know if I'm going to end up, although it looks lovely, if I'm going to be able to master it, or if I'm going to think it doesn't look, it's, you know, it doesn't work for me. and mine doesn't look the way hers did. Which is very probably the case, because let's face it, everyone else can cut in a straight line, so you know it's quite possible that it'll be a disaster. Right, just need to take that pin out and push that down a little bit further. That's it. And then in and out. And very quickly, while we've been chatting, we're almost at the end here. Look. Just catching on the end there it is, that's all. There we go. Last one, I think. And we've now done our pretty blanket stitch all across there, and this piece is attached. Okay, clever, isn't it? Now I'm going to leave this one, as it were, flapping in the wind, I think, because I'm going to go down there and I'm going to come up about there, and I'm going to go back to my burrow stitch type idea. I don't know why it's called burrow stitch. To me it's just a running stitch, but let's not argue with those who know. So in and out, in and out, in and out, like so. Now this one, because I've taken that pin out, is starting to come out, so I need to push that back down and bring that back to make sure that's inside, like that. And now we should be getting both of these at the same time, because if I do a fixing stitch there, I'm gonna have to put pins in, aren't I, because it's all moving. Let's put a fixing pin in, so like that, and that'll hold it. Right, so then if I take this stitch to the back and I come up near the top, that should now in, out, that should now be stitching all 4 layers in a decorative manner. So yes, I'm going to try my hand at this darning lark. Now obviously darning's been around for forever. I'm not one of these people who can say I remember seeing my nan do it, because I don't come from that kind of family. How, you see, that is now attached. So we got this one semi-loose and we got that one loose, and that shows, you know, the honesty of what we've done. And I've become very hot, if you like, on the whole honesty aspect of things lately. When I do my journals and I use book pages, I like some of the book page that I've used to be seen, so that, you know, you can see the honesty of what's been done. Okay, and I've managed now to get this middle line where the stitches have become almost alternate, yeah? So there, that is what I've done this week on my last square, using up my fabrics. Like that. Okay, now obviously I did also set aside these extra 2 buttons Now there's very little of this blue in here, so I think it would make sense to use the bluey green one. So I'm going to take a narrow needle. It's quite a big hole, I think. Yeah. I'm going to thread through, where's it gone? Some of this white cotton, and I'm going to sew that button on. Because I'd like more than one square to have the button in, if you know what I mean. Oh, for some reason, because we've got French knots on 3 of our squares, this is, don't be ridiculous, just go in there, thank you. Naughty piece of string. Right, find the end, give myself double threads because it's a button, and I want it about there, so I'm going to come through there. It sounds like the washer's having a bit of a fit out there, doesn't it? And sew this button on just because I can and I want to, basically. And these are the things that were in my bag for this project, so they should really be used on this project. So oh, I can't get my needle. Where's my needle? There we go. So I've got my button on there, like that. I'm just trying to decide, do I want to put that one down there, or do I just want to leave the one? I bet you're all shouting at me whether to or not to. No, I'm going to leave it off. I'm just going to use the one button. Doesn't matter, I have got some leftover threads, so to have a leftover button doesn't really matter, does it? There you go. So that's this week's, and as I say, next week I'm going to do monogram in that corner. Now obviously if I put that under there, I can just about see it, except that's not very straight. I can just about see it, and I can use my friction pen to draw through that. So next week we're going to sorry, not next week, next fortnight we will finish it off with a monogram, because obviously we're the ones that stitched it all. We should have a monogram for it. Stay safe, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you very soon. Ta-ta for now.